Oh, they still can go ahead. Never heard. What a waste of time.
Yeah.
It's not just to add value to Amazon Prime.
Yeah, I heard that, you get, like, free, like, Nintendo Online.
Yeah.
For, like, a year, so you just got Twitch Prime, dude.
Wild.
The Twitch Prime.
A full $20 value. Yes, right.
Is that what it's called, Twitch Prime?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. That was the interesting stuff about PAX. It was good to get out and see everybody and kind of take the temperature of some stuff.
Yeah. Any cool game stuff?
I took a look at Mortal Kombat running on the Switch. I think a little bit.
Rad.
I didn't even know that was happening, and they announced
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Okay. I totally missed that part.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, I was surprised this wasn't, like, completely behind closed doors.
Oh, I mean, they had people near it the whole time, like, do not point a phone at this, do not take any footage of this, do not, please don't look directly at it. Like, I watched someone else play it. I didn't like wade through the lines and play it myself, so I kind of stared over someone's shoulder at it. Oh, so it was not even hooked up to TVs. It was just handheld only.
Okay.
Like, here it is.
Good frame rate?
Yeah, that was the thing that stood out. Like, oh, the frame rate's fine. Like, 60? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was...
How much blood?
So the guy playing was not busting out the good shit, so I didn't see any fatal blows. It seems like that sort of stuff would be the part where you might see some more noticeable reductions in terms of just like how that stuff ends up looking. But generally speaking, in terms of just like the fighting itself, it looked right there with the other versions. Like, some visual scale down for sure.
Cool. That's really exciting in
terms of playing that video game. It seems like you can play that video game.
There's been so many good fighting games coming to the Switch, and because it's such a good portable system, that it's great for like the fighting game community as a whole. I think I don't think it's ever going to be like the primary console, but just to have that stuff like in clutch moments.
Is there much
bust out? It's great.
Is there much of a stick scene for the Switch?
They've got one official one, but the Brook Universal Fighting boards, that are predominantly used in custom sticks. That works with Switch. And like every other console as well. Wii U, fucking Xbox One, like all across the board.
That's cool.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of controller converters as well, and a bunch of just
like a lot of that controller stuff works. So you can kind of get like I bought that M30, that Genesis looking 6-button controller.
Yeah, me too.
And that would be a decent fighting game controller for the Switch for sure.
That's what I bought it for.
Yeah, totally. You got any games of the moment?
Still playing against Sekiro, I guess. Yeah. Not making much progress. I beat Lady Butterfly.
Okay.
I guess. I was just swearing the entire time.
That one's rough.
Yeah, that one's kind of no fun. Most of it's no fun.
Enjoy it. I was about to ask if you were actually enjoying it.
I'm still, if I would get better rewards, I think. If they gave me a little more incentives.
Success is so rewarding.
Because everything changes up from fight to fight. I don't feel like I'm really learning much. I'm memorizing patterns. And that's, I guess, in its own way, its own reward. I guess that you overcame that particular challenge, but. In terms of the overall game enjoyment, that's not doing it for me. Just from a fun level, like, I don't know, like I'm getting my parries down. I'm playing it pretty well, It's just that I'm dying an awful lot, trying to memorize those patterns and stuff, and that's where it's no fun, I guess, for me. So
it seems weirdly polarizing in the kind of, I guess, fun community or whatever you want to call it. Just from looking at message boards, like some people who love those games have kind of bounced off of it.
I kind of felt the same way about Bloodborne in that it didn't give me enough, and that's why I kind of like dropped off at the very end.
Vinny was saying the same thing yesterday, that like Bloodborne and like maybe this game to some extent make you be more aggressive, like you have to go in more, whereas Dark Souls you can play a build basically. I guess that's the thing, is that Bloodborne and Sekiro don't have as extensive of a kind of build variety as Dark Souls, because Dark Souls you can make as tanky and like defensive characters you want. Just kind of hang back and cheese.
I keep thinking about like all the different variety of weapons in like Neo or something like that. That's the first game that I go to instead of like other From games when I'm playing this, and I keep going, man, I wish I had this kind of weapon here. I don't know. Maybe I'm still playing it. Like maybe I'll come around on it. Maybe at some point it'll just click. I hear that happens to some people. So fingers crossed it'll happen as well. Yeah.
What have you been up to? I've been speaking about fighting games on the Switch.
Really?
Ben and I. Okay, so Ben and I last week we did a quick look of Power Rangers Battle for the Grid.
Yeah.
Specifically the Switch version, and I remember for months now.
The only version was out there, I think.
Came out PS4 and Xbox.
PS.
Or I think it maybe came out on Xbox, but not PS4. It's something weird.
I thought they were delayed. But
And like Steam is coming out in the summer. I just remember Ben for months harping. It's like, has a code come in? Have we heard anything about Power Rangers? Because he was super excited about it. So it's a 3v3 tag fighting game, and I'm not a qualified scientist or anything, but neither is Ben. It's fine. Junior intern. Yeah. And I've actually been enjoying it, but the part that's kind of getting to me is that if it's a tag fighting game, normally that's like a big roster of characters.
Yeah.
But here there's only about 7 or 9, with plans to include 3 more.
Okay.
It doesn't feel too bad. It's at $20, and I don't want to say it's a budget title, but you can win. Okay, it's a budget title because there's just like a distinct lack of voices and like little touches. Like you won't see your character's name on the life bar, just like your screen name or just generic player 1 or AI.
Or like win poses or win screens.
There's no win screens, there's no win quotes. Yeah. There's like an arcade mode that runs you through like 7 missions, but there's nothing after that.
Of a mobile game, or is it like from the developers of a Power Rangers mobile game?
I think it
like that.
was. I think it's the developers behind the WWE and Power Rangers mobile game.
Developers called In-A-Way, which I feel like I've heard the name of before.
Yeah. I don't think it's a direct port of that mobile Power Rangers fighting game.
Okay.
Yeah.
I overheard you mention at some point, like, you wish that they had some, like, voice samples from, like, the show or
totally.
something.
Because, I thought like, maybe it's a rights issue, but I guess it could just be because it's $20. Maybe they didn't have the budget to do so.
Okay.
But, like, Power Rangers is
But if you
super
have the
cheesy.
license.
Yeah.
And also, if you're going to play a Power Rangers game, aren't you there for a bunch of fan service?
Exactly. Yeah. And, like, the fan service, like, they do a bunch of deep cuts with, like, the 9 characters they decided to choose, because they have Lord Draken, which is, like, evil Tommy from the future.
Oh, wow. Okay.
If he continued to stay bad instead of joining the Power Rangers. And then they have the Ranger Slayer, who's the pink Power Ranger, but she got brainwashed. But they also have the Mastodon Black Power Ranger, who's a cop.
Wait,
And I can't get down with that.
I'm sorry to digress here,
No
but
cops in your Power Rangers.
and all the Power Rangers are cops.
Well, but this one's like specifically, it's like he pulls out a walkie-talkie.
Oh,
he has no personality. He's not cool and fun-loving like Zack.
Sorry to digress here, but I
Officer Zack.
just went to the In-A-Way Twitter account, and there's a big image of Power Rangers versus Street Fighter.
Yeah, that's
there
a
was.
mobile game.
Okay. Yeah.
Weird. Power Rangers Legacy or something.
Yeah, I played a bit, and it's 13.
It feels fine. Yeah, no, it actually plays okay.
It's a $20 thing.
Yeah, it's a $20 thing.
It looks like it is out on Xbox and Switch right now.
Special moves are like directions, like you hold the direction and you hit the special move button, you know, you hold back and you get something different forward.
Taking something from the Smash Brothers.
Yeah, a little bit. It's alright.
Yeah, I tried a couple matches online, didn't get completely wrecked, and the connection was fine. Cool. Yeah, it's mostly, it's as a Power Rangers fan, it's a little bit of a bummer to only have 9 characters.
I can see that.
Especially when there's so many.
Like, you could clone the fuck out of...
Oh yeah, like, I mean,
you
like,
really
fucking
pad this roster.
Smash has like 12 different versions of one character.
Right.
You could do the same thing here.
Why not?
Those suits, I bet those suits palette swap really easy.
Yeah,
Totally. More Rangers.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So it's a bummer. But I mean, it's cool. They said they're going to continue working on it.
Yeah, they've got like a season pass or something.
Yeah. A $50 season pass.
A $50 season pass to get you...
I'm sorry, did you say 50? 50?
No,
15?
no,
Okay.
15.
Even the 15 is expensive for a $20 game.
I guess. But like at least I'd say for like the limited roster they do have, they all play very differently from each other. I mean, again, my knowledge of fighting games is not too deep, but it was fun
I concur.
for what I was getting into.
As a scientist, I concur.
Okay, all right. Just okay. So the dumb thing though is that the other thing I associate with Power Rangers are the Megazords. So they have you pick a Megazord after you pick your roster of 3 characters, and I thought like, okay, cool. That'll be like a summon or something, or you hop into it afterwards and the fight continues that way. No, because as soon as you build up your meter and your Zord's meter,
you summon it, but it doesn't actually do anything until you start hitting attack buttons. So a giant foot or sword will start stabbing into the screen. It's kind of and like a drill. It's cool because it'll continue combos and you can actually block it. But it just, man,
It's not like Jin Super and NPC.
I just wish I saw them.
Yeah, big fist that comes in. In this case, the big foot. It's pretty cool.
I see that foot just, if you grew large and then the foot just stepped on someone and crushed them into a pile of rib cages, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Power Rangers in Mortal Kombat. Dude, I want to rip out Tommy's spine.
Oh, why? I love Tommy.
Well, you know, when he was an evil shit.
Oh, okay, yeah, he was kind of an evil shit for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No Blue Ranger representation here.
Oh, what? Yeah, that's weird.
How could they? Yeah.
It's weird.
Or how could they not?
I don't know enough about where Power Rangers went after the first play.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Rita Repulsa. That
was actually my question. Is Rita Repulsa in it or what? She's not.
That's about all I know.
Yo, you want to look up some weird Power Ranger stuff? Google Doggy Kruger.
Doggy Kruger?
And it's like a giant anthropomorphic dog that's like the Zordon of SPD. Yeah.
Dog, you can do spinning pile drivers?
What? It gets weird. Power Rangers gets very weird.
I have Googled Doggy Kruger.
It's a good name.
Sure. But then he also becomes a Power Ranger, but he's like a giant dog man. And
It worked for Contra.
yeah, but he just assumes like a normal size helmet, which weirds me out. I would have liked a dog Power Ranger helmet, but whatever.
They fit his snout in there. I don't get it.
Is it because in wherever they, like, whatever Japanese show they stole the footage from, it was not a dog?
I believe so.
Man, what a mess. What a glorious mess.
Jay and I appreciate you being here to get excited about the stuff that we probably just barely aged out of by the time it came around. And also to let me know how I sound when I babble about Transformers.
Nonsense. I think they're one and the same.
Yeah. You think so?
Yeah, I think Ben and I were talking about this where like Transformers was probably like the generation that preceded him and I.
Yeah.
So we're like,
That's the thing. Everybody's got their thing
Totally.
they grew up with.
Except Transformers was good. That's the difference.
Man, Power Rangers taught me about accepting friends.
That is the attitude
redemption.
that is the attitude that I am identifying in myself and trying to step out of.
No, man, don't.
Like, just double down on that.
Internally, I know the truth.
Did the Transformers have a crossover episode with the Ninja Turtles?
No, but there was a comic book series with G.I. Joe.
That's right. Okay, that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, G.I. Joe had a guy with a metal face. How did he talk? How did he breathe?
How did the mouth?
How did he smile?
He had a metal mask, and yet he was mouth just.
There's a lot we don't know about Destro.
Yeah.
He's an arms dealer.
Have the Transformers and Power Rangers never crossed over? Is that
That
just
seems like something that
have, right?
Like, probably there was something that's.
I mean, I've seen Batman and Ninja Turtles cross paths.
Who was it? Was it on a stream here last week that I was trying to explain the G.I. Joe movie to somebody?
I think it was probably to Ben.
And how they go to a secret, like, Arctic society of reptile people who want to mutate the world.
Right.
Run by a giant snake man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Checks out.
Voiced by Burgess Meredith.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a weird-ass movie.
It really fucking is, man.
Weird.
Cobra Commander. The fate of Cobra Commander was once a man. Yeah, was once.
Jeff, you got any
I
games?
played some Risk of Rain 2.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I played a little bit.
Nowhere? Or at least to me, it did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't
Like I said, it kind of showed up on Steam, and then I think Gearbox announced it at their panel.
Oh, were they publishing it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Or at least it was publishing on Steam.
Did the whole like announcement to release happen last week?
No, the game had been announced previously. Because I feel like there had been footage out there. So like this was one that like came along. I forgot what they were doing with it, and then it came out, and I was like, oh right, they are making Risk of Rain, but as a behind-the-back, third-person polygonal game.
Yeah, we played some of it on the long UPF on Friday.
Yeah.
And then also seemed kind of thrown for a loop.
Yeah.
It's like because it's kind of the same style
Kind of the
game,
same,
just in
yeah.
3D, right?
Yeah, it's a weird thing, for sure.
People seem to like it.
Yeah, it seems like I only played like a couple of runs, and I'm really on the fence about it because I don't think the character moves all that well, and like you think about like what a third-person action shooter game can be, especially if you have a dodge roll and stuff like that. Like it feels very stiff in the way that the original Risk of Rain So
To its credit.
to its credit, like it evokes that first game pretty well.
Maybe that works better in 2D than 3D.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'm on the fence on. Like that, my initial reaction was like, I think I might like Risk of Rain 1 more. But I think what they're doing is at least neat.
That's cool.
It feels like a weird throwback.
That's early
It's
access. So
hey, flashback, 2D game, Fade to Black,
Yeah.
not.
Oh,
like it's got that kind of.
you're comparing it to Fade Black.
Hey, yeah, right. No, it's maybe not that bad. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not super sold on it. It's a really neat thing on paper of like, hey, can we take these concepts and make them in a polygonal game? But it's just not. I don't know. It's early access.
Kind of makes me want to play the first one. Because I never
Yes.
did. And watching 2, I now know at least what kind of game it is. I'm like, oh, in 2D, that's pretty cool.
It's that first game's tremendous.
It's great. I assume it's out on probably everything at this point.
Yeah, probably.
I might have to check that out at some point. I've been playing some of the Elder Scrolls Blades on my telephone.
You just like dial a number and it says like push 1 if you want to stab them, push 9 to be removed from our list.
Pretty much.
Okay.
It's weird because it's early access. Like they dropped on the App Store and the Google Play Store.
I didn't know they had
Out of
a program
nowhere?
for early
They
access on mobile
They don't
stuff.
because if you just pull it up on one of those stores, it just says the Elder Scrolls Blades download now.
Huh.
But then you download it and boot it, and then they're like, log in with your Bethesda account, and you do that, and they're like, we're letting people into this slowly. Go to Bethesda.net to sign up, and maybe you'll get picked. Yeah, like they're just like opting people in randomly off of the sign up list.
It's a weird way to do it.
Yeah.
But
Kinda. I mean, they're calling it early access, but I got into it, and it's kind of cool. Which I feel like a real dupe for saying, because I know exactly where this thing is going.
sure.
There are
What are the free-to-play trappings?
all kinds of venues for meters and timers and
I don't like hearing this.
materials to dump into those things to speed them up. Yeah.
But like other than that, like you're just kind of go around questing. Like,
Well,
what-
so it's there's not a real traditional open world. Like there's the conceit is there's a town you come upon that is ruined, it's destroyed, everybody's fled, like the buildings are all trashed. And you go out from that, you pick up quests in that town, and then you go out from the town to do the quests. But there's no overworld you travel to get to the quest. You literally just walk from the town square to the beginning of a dungeon and do it. And then you get gold and lumber and like 100 different crafting materials. Come back. So you pick up chests in the missions, and those have timers. Although the first types of chests I found are wooden chests that have 5-second timers. As if to say, hey, our timers are friendly. But I know from reading about the game that, hours-long timers will start appearing pretty quickly. Then you get back to town with the stuff you found, and rebuilding the buildings in town also has timers on it. It's that. But it
sounds like one of those.
It
But
looks
I mean,
nice and it plays kind of well. Like I played it on the bus on the way in, and it was like fun.
What's combat like?
It is. So you get locked into combat. Like as soon as an enemy sort of like triggers, you just sort of like your view snaps to the enemy and you can't move.
Okay.
And it's pretty simple so far. It's you get a shield fake button on the left, you block their attacks, and then you can attack anytime by holding on them, and like a circle starts closing on them, and you let off like right when the circle closes, you kind of get full damage.
Okay.
I've seen a little bit of interesting stuff. Like there's one type of enemy is too far away from you to hit, so you have to time your attacks for when they lunge at you to actually connect.
Oh, neat.
There is some variation there, and you get abilities and spells. There's a skill tree you pick.
Neat.
What to unlock.
As long as it's engaging and fun.
It's okay.
Yeah,
Like
that's cool.
Did it seem like the sort of thing where they're just going to randomly generate quests forever, or did you feel like there's a story linking this together?
There is kind of a story, actually. There's a weird personality in some of the writing, because like one of the few townspeople that showed up since I started rebuilding was like a complete dick to me. Like there's like people seem skeptical of you. I don't know. There is some amount of storytelling. It's pretty thin. There's a couple options on the screen, on the title screen. One of them is Abyss, which I think I saw a tool. It's locked right now. Like they haven't added it to the game yet, but one of the tooltips said something about like you get crafting materials by completing quests or exploring the Abyss. So I think the Abyss might be some kind of endless or randomly generated thing. I don't know. It's okay. It's pretty thin. Like you can certainly see the mobile machinery of it, but it looks nice.
It's making your phone super hot.
It was warm.
Okay.
Sort of warm.
Nice.
That's how we judge.
Yeah. Also, I've got like 80 megabytes of data left for the next 2 days before Verizon charges me $15. So I'm trying to play that game without going over that limit.
Oh no, I didn't think you had a cap.
So I don't know how. I should probably get a better plan.
Yeah.
I've never hit my cap before.
No.
Until now. Anyway, that thing seems cool. I need to check an embargo before I say one other thing. Okay, somebody say something.
I have not played it yet, but I am going to get started on Dangerous Driving.
Oh yeah, they're pretty soon.
Yeah.
Which was at the show floor, and some people have been playing it a little bit. Kind of heard some mixed things about it. It's it's like a Burnout 2-ish sort of
You have my attention.
driving game from Three Fields, who did the other games where they said, hey, it's like the Burnout Crash mode, that ended up being just kind of underproduced.
I remember that having like the UI kind of being a little bit of a letdown because it's fairly basic.
Yeah, just the whole look of it and
The presentation,
the
overall
presentation
presentation,
overall, and then just maybe not enough variety. I think were the things with what's that called? It wasn't Dangerous Driving, the crash mode stuff.
Danger Zone.
Danger Zone, right?
That's right.
Yeah, so this is kind of the pre-open world Burnout style.
Looks kind of nice.
Yeah, some parts of it looked all right. So I'm looking forward to getting going on it. But I've heard some complaints around like, the collision angles for you and the other cars seem like hard to judge or wrong.
That might be a deal breaker in this kind of game.
Yeah. But I would have said the same thing early on about Onrush, and eventually once I warmed up to it, I kind of got past that aspect of it. So we'll see. I'm gonna probably start on that tonight, and we'll give it a look this week probably.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear how that is. Like, I feel like I keep waiting for that studio to do the thing, and they haven't done the thing yet.
Yeah.
Like every game they put out.
And it feels like we've been vocal about like what they need to do.
Yeah.
What they need to kind of polish up.
Yeah. Like their ideas are fine.
Right.
It's just,
I imagine it's
just lacking.
It's a resource, like a really small team. So it would be hard to put that stuff together, but at the same time, like they keep and they're on this track of like they announce a game and then almost immediately release it.
The games come out fast.
And like they have way more projects under their belt shipped than I would have expected by now.
This is like their fourth game.
Yeah.
In the last 3 years. Oh, they also made some VR.
Yeah, there's the VR shooting gallery thing too.
Fifth game.
And so they're really punching things out, and none of them, like every single one of them, I feel like I've come away going like, it's probably going to use some more time.
Yeah.
So you wonder, like, do they just gotta get some money coming in? Like is it a financial thing? Like I just don't know. So this seems like the culmination of like now they're getting close to the things that people really want them to be doing, and I'm curious to see if this is a step up from the stuff they've done so far or not.
Yeah. So my last thing, directly after the show last week, I ran out of here to a PlayStation VR event.
Yeah.
I didn't have a ton of time to spend there because I had to get home and play Generation Zero with Alex, which it turns out I probably would have been better off staying at the event.
Yeah.
That game's not good. Anyway, I didn't play anything there, but I kind of made the rounds watching people play stuff. Yeah. See what was there. They had No Man's Sky VR, which they were demoing with PlayStation Moves. And the thing that, so I'm sure it has controller support too. I didn't actually think to ask, but the thing that stuck out to me that I kind of got excited about watching that was you get in your ship, and if you have motion controllers, you can manually control all the stuff in the cockpit.
Okay.
Cool. Like you get in there, and I'm pretty sure you hit a hatch button to make the hatch close, and you pull the throttle. Like. A big part of the fantasy of that game is having your own spaceship that you can just get in and fly anywhere.
Yeah.
Like that actually, typically I would want to just use a controller for a game like that, but like watching that, I was like, if I can get in there and like play with a bunch of control panels and stuff, I might want to pull out some motion controllers.
There's a lot of the inventory management and just a lot of like the stuff in that game of like menus and going in to refill your fuel with whatever resource and this and that, like all that stuff, like they streamlined it a lot over the 9 or 10 years that game's been out, but it always still felt like a little clunky. So like doing it with motion controllers would probably force them to redesign a lot of that stuff in a way that could be kind of interesting.
Yeah, I should have had them run through some of the UI stuff while I was there. Like I said, I was just kind of quickly checking stuff out there, but
they seem committed to it.
Yeah,
like it's going to be like fully playable.
Oh yeah,
VR.
Yes. So, yeah, they said it's exactly the same game. Like you can literally load up your previous save game from the regular game in VR instead if you want.
So yeah, like Jeff said, I wonder what kind of concessions and changes that they're going to make.
Like I did see some of the building interface because I actually haven't ever really messed with their base building stuff, which they had a ton of. But yeah, you can do all that with motion and stuff. So it seems cool.
That could be an improvement. The base building stuff actually is fine with the control.
Yeah, but it seemed interesting because like they're doing their bigger multiplayer thing, which they haven't talked in too much in detail about. They're doing this, and then they say there's one other component to this big summer update that they haven't revealed yet. That they're going to talk some game about. So like, I don't know. That could
full nudity.
Yeah, I'm talking alien nudity.
And once you get the VR game, that's the natural next step.
Yes, that seems to be.
No Man's Sky morph balls.
Ooh, okay. They look good.
Also morph into stuff. I don't know.
Like I was worried, it's PS4. Like you're gonna have to make some compromises to make this thing run smoothly in VR. But like it looked like No Man's Sky from what I could see, which was a compliment.
And then that stuff's also coming to Steam.
Yeah, it's also coming to Steam. VR stuff. You can just like force it with a good video card if you really want to make it look good. Sure. That stuff seems exciting though. Like I feel like I never really closed the loop on that game.
Yep.
Like I never quite got everything I was looking for out of it. And every time they announced more stuff, I'm like getting closer to.
Yeah, I mean,
kind of what they pitched.
I went back, when they had their kind of last big update and got into it and put another 20 or 30 hours into it, built a base, did all the stuff that like I hadn't done because they patched it in when I wasn't playing it.
Yeah.
And had a pretty good time with it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I really want to check that stuff out.
I wonder how well that game is like continuing to sell because the story was always like it did gangbusters out of the gate.
Yeah,
that's what's affording them the ability to to make good on some of the stuff that it didn't have at launch.
Yeah.
And now we're kind of into the and then some phase of it, I think.
Right, because it came out in 2016.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're coming up on 3 years that it's been out.
So I wonder if it's like selling well enough to like, if they're just kind of like riding on the initial wave of sales they got, or if like every incremental update is enough, like now more people are finally getting in.
Yeah.
That this is like still going on and selling and doing well.
Yeah, I don't know. I see a lot of talk about like the No Man's Sky community, so people seem to be sticking with it. But I don't know. That's a good question. But that looked cool. Cool. Excited to see that thing come out for real.
Well, the hands-on reports for Iron Man VR that hit today seem pretty positive on it.
Yeah, I watched some people playing that. I mean, like it seems to control or move kind of like you expect. I didn't spend a lot of time looking at it, but it is it is a first-person flight game,
right?
But it is go anywhere from what I can tell. It's not like a rail shooter.
Yeah, I think the rap I heard on it was that the stuff they showed in their video looked okay, but the actual game is notably better than what they showed. It was just like, okay, this stuff does not actually show what this game is really good at.
I should have stuck around and checked out more of that. That's cool. Yeah, it did sound pretty thin from the way they were pitching it.
Yeah.
All right, that's all the games I got. If you guys got anything else, besides the full bladder.
Anyways,
all right, it's time for a break then.
Dry as a bone.
Yeah, that's what we are.
It's time to get it on the internet. That's right. It's time to turn your dreams into a reality with Squarespace. Because Squarespace makes it easier than ever to launch your passion project. Are you looking to start a new business? Yeah, you are. Everyone is. Of course you are. You're trying to showcase your work. Yeah. Publish the content, sell some products. Squarespace is the tool for you no matter what you need to do. Just get it on the internet with these beautiful templates created by world-class designers. You can customize any of them with just a few clicks, and you can easily make a beautiful website all by yourself. You can also sell stuff. They've got e-commerce functionality. It's powerful. It'll let you sell anything online. There's analytics in there that'll help you grow your site in real time. And it's all optimized for mobile, right out of the box. Nothing to patch, nothing to upgrade, it just works. They've even made buying domains simple. And you'll get the help you need from Squarespace's 24/7 award-winning customer support. Did you know that Squarespace empowers millions of people? Millions. That's a lot of websites. But there's still room for yours. Are you a designer, a lawyer, artist, restaurant, gym, whatever? All of those sorts of people are turning great ideas into something real. And now you can too. Head over to squarespace.com/bombcast for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use the offer code BOMBCAST to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. That's squarespace.com/bombcast, offer code BOMBCAST.
News, I got a bunch of it. Borderlands 3.
Give it to me. Give it to me.
There's some. I just gave you
Give me the news.
I just gave you
All of the news.
Oh.
One at a time.
You can't handle all
Yeah.
of this news at one time. Borderlands 3.
Boom.
They announced it.
Boom.
We can finally answer the question, is Borderlands 3 the new Half-Life 3? By saying no.
No.
It is not.
God.
There. Yeah, we did that.
Though they sure didn't spend a lot of time actually answering any questions. It was like they might as well, like the trailer is fine.
Did you go to that panel?
Yeah.
No, we were in the car.
Oh. Was that Thursday? Oh, that
Yeah,
was
it was
Thursday morning. That's right.
So we were driving from New York
Okay.
to Boston.
Okay.
Me, Alex, and Abby.
How much of the panel were you able to follow in the car?
Every time I turned it on, it was just Randy Pitchford doing magic, and then I would turn it off for a while and then turn it back on, and he would still be. It was just kind of like sweatily doing magic, and I was like, did something break? And it turns out, no, it's everything broke later.
Yes. Oh, yes.
So then it got to and then I turned it on as they were actually getting into the trailer, and it started playing, and I was like, well, my connection must be shitty because we're in a car. And then and then I looked and saw like, oh no, apparently they just didn't play the trailer.
They've been having this problem as they've been playing previous trailers because they announced like what was it? Bullstorm for Switch, something else.
Yeah.
Borderlands Remaster, I think.
Yeah, the remaster.
Right,
Borderlands
Borderlands 1 remastered, which is out like tomorrow. There's like a 4K texture or like kind of quality pack coming out for hands-on. They've been videos. Yeah, they've been running other videos in the panel prior to Borderlands 3, and all
I think
of them
we're
have
getting
this
progressively worse.
terrible like frame rate and stuttering problems. And then, they got to the big finale, started playing the Borderlands 3 trailer. Same thing was happening. They killed it. He came out and like tried to fill.
Yeah. But he'd done all his magic. He had no magic left, no MPs.
They apparently couldn't resolve the problem and then just elected to run the entire reveal trailer with the problem.
And then rerun the
And then like 5 or 10 minutes later, they got it fixed, and they're like, "Here's the trailer again. Now it's smooth."
That trailer looked like an Adult Swim bumper. Like it was just like, here's an occasional word on screen, and it's just like back to, not the exact same style as the Adult Swim stuff, of course, but
It's kind of like weird dialogue with the viewer kind of thing.
Yeah, but no enemies, we got it, but like no dialogue from the characters, so like no real story setup, or you could frame by frame it and glean little bits of information about it, but like they said, like for a game that has been obviously in development for quite some time now and not much of a secret, and they've acknowledged multiple times that they were in fact working on it. For this to be like their quote-unquote announcement, to be like so info light, just seems dumb.
Borderlands 2 came out September 2012.
Yeah.
So well over 6 years ago.
Well, they had to make that hobby grade shooter.
Obviously, yes. I wonder if Borderlands 3 is hobby grade. But yeah, like, I know it sounds reductive, but watching that trailer, like, if you were to ask me, like, what makes this different from Borderlands 1 and 2,
Right.
I wouldn't be able to come up with much.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's plenty,
Yeah, no, that's
but it looked an awful lot like a Borderlands game.
Sure. Yeah, it did. Yeah, I was able to discern quite a bit. I think in that
You
difference.
see like some returning characters.
Returning,
or
but like, the character
I guess-
classes seem very different.
Well, so I guess the distinction I would make is like, yes, they have the different classes.
Yeah.
Like people who love Borderlands 2 and want more of that, if they just see new classes, like that's cool. But if you're hoping for them to make a bigger change, I didn't see much there.
Yeah, that's one of the few like genres, I guess, that I don't want to be changed too terribly much.
Well, for example, I would say, like, if they're sticking, it appears to be the case, if they're sticking with this concept of, like, your classes being married to a specific character design, like, that feels very outmoded to me.
I didn't want that in Borderlands 2.
Right, yes. Like,
And
think about every other loot shooter that's come out since then, and, like, the extensiveness of character creation and customization. Like, if you're...
Want to customize, yeah.
I'm looking at, I might as well mention there was a leak of 2 or 3 days before this reveal with some kind of low-res promotional art and a ton of details. So,
and then the promo art kind of lined up with some
promo art
stuff in the
basically
trailer.
matches the trailer, so I think we can assume this leak is more or less legit, but it is leaked info, so it can't necessarily be trusted all the way. talk about, I mean, it is the exact same model. It's 4 character classes. Each one is tied to a specific character.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they have a stealth character. They have a melee character. Like, that's fine. I don't mind character classes so much, but, like, I just, you know, Destinies and Divisions and Anthems, and, like, everybody likes making their own character and customizing it, kind of making it theirs, and, like, to be tied to...
I think but that was my feeling with Borderlands 2, was this vibe of, like, wow, either I'm wrong, like, did people care about the characters in that? Like, because all of the Borderlands 1 characters became NPCs in 2, and you talked to them a bunch, and it was like, this is not... Like, I would rather still be that character, because I thought his skill tree was more interesting than any one of the ones in Borderlands 2. Like, but instead, like, they've doubled down on making these people characters. It was like, I don't want that at all.
Yeah.
I'd rather just create a character and a class, instead of, like, you know, they had, like, oh, here's, like, unlockable skins that are just, like, full color redos.
Yeah.
Even that just seemed
Yeah,
like...
you couldn't even mix and match colors.
Yeah, that kind of seemed behind the times then. And so I just wonder, like, what, like, from that leaked stuff, that maybe gun customization is
Yeah, the leak visions, they're like gun parts you can...
Which that's interesting, because that's weirdly how that system works behind the scenes. When you got into, like, the Borderlands save editors and stuff, it was like, oh, I'm gonna select a different barrel from this drop down, it's gonna change this, and so, like, their random gun generator was kind of based on parts to begin with, so why not build a crafting system? So it's good that that's in there.
That sounds cool.
Or assuming the leak is legit.
Yeah. And then I guess, I mean, the biggest new thing, which is kind of implied in the trailer and then just stated flat out in this leak, is that you're going to multiple planets this time, so not stuck in one area.
That feature one looks pretty cool.
Like, the leak says you'll have, like, a kind of a mothership that you use as your hub to go from planet to planet. And there's, like, one quick montage of environments in the middle of that trailer that kind of caught my attention, because there's a city, there's, like, a high-tech city environment, which is something you haven't seen before. And there's, like, kind of a nice, lush jungle. Like, Borderlands has been kind of a lot of desert, right? And snowy desert. Sure, basically. So, like, seeing some new types of environments was kind of exciting.
Going off-world.
Yeah, like, going to different planets maybe sounds cool. But,
That's
like,
kind of what they did in the prequel, the pre-sequel, what the hell did they call it?
The pre-sequel. Yeah.
wasn't that just on one other planet, though?
It was a moon, right? So there's this whole oxygen mechanic that was
Low gravity.
not fun.
Yeah, but I mean, this idea of being able to go from one planet to another at will,
Yeah, I think so.
sounds kind of interesting. But I guess in general, what I mean is just like, I was hoping for a Borderlands 3 that really looked like they had looked at the kind of every other loot shooter that's come out. It's like is it fair to say they invented the genre, or at least this mashup?
Hellgate London.
Well, okay, sure. Okay, they weren't the very first. But in this modern era,
Yeah, I think, like, Borderlands did kind of lay down something of a blueprint for other games to follow, but, like, other games, I think, ran with it a lot.
that's better. Like, I was hoping we would see them having, like, really looked at every other game that's come out since Borderlands 2, and, like, kind of taken some of those ideas and come up with some big ideas of their own.
Like, the scope of the game, it just seems like a larger Borderlands, as opposed to, like, hey, there's maybe some more fundamental things you could do around, you know, online connectivity and social spaces, and, you know, like, some of that other stuff that, like, you know, maybe they just haven't gotten around to revealing.
Yeah. Actually, the end of the trailer...
If this ends up just being, like, here's a 4-player Borderlands game as they've always made them, like, what?
Yeah.
Like, that seems crazy.
Yeah, like, at a minimum, I would want, like, an online social space with people running around, like Destiny, or...
But then you get it, then you're just kind of, like, really exposing the issue of, hey, you've got these
every character
characters, right? You know, like, that was the thing, like, even going from Borderlands 1 to 2, like, to me, the most no-brainer thing felt like armor to customize the look of your character. You know, and so when you look at another character, you go, oh, they're badass, they got all this stuff. But instead they just went with shields that, you know, just pop, you know, that they don't really change the look of the character. And so that just felt like a real missed opportunity, and this just feels like more of that in a way. I was like, man, what if this
game also doesn't have that?
Like, holy shit, right?
Like, the idea of a loot shooter without armor.
I don't think they're going to get away from that.
I wonder. I bet they don't. But that to me, that's really, it's just wild.
It's core to the genre for me.
I don't know. I think having those, you know, those prefab, like, kind of written characters carries a little more weight for me. You know, you mentioned that, you know, the first game's characters carried on into, like, the next game. You know, these characters, you know, matter. They're not yours. You know, I guess you just play as them.
Yeah.
I like playing as a class. You know.
Yeah.
I don't need it to be completely customized. I don't need to make my own skill tree or anything like that. I think
it's mostly just like I don't identify with the player characters in Borderlands enough for it to be worth it for them to make it just this prefab thing.
I'm excited for this.
And
I'm
all
excited
that
for these
stuff.
new classes. Like this Beastmaster class seems fucking rad. You know, and the the soldier class, all the vehicles that you can like summon. You know, that tire, that like unicycle tire.
Right.
You can summon that. You can summon the big mech thing that
My soldier to look exactly like yours.
Yeah, like I want to get cool shoulder pads for my soldier.
I think when like Borderlands 2, like they had a ton of different skins. You know,
Yeah, they did, but
that
it
were available
wasn't.
with spiked shoulder pads and shit like that.
But then
You couldn't customize each individual part.
Yeah,
I'll give
like
you that.
you think about the things you could do in those games, and like the things the things other games do with loot and stuff like that. You know, back to World of Warcraft, even. You know, but like you should be able to look at someone and go, oh man, they fucking beat Promerax,
Yes. Right.
because they're wearing the helmet.
Yeah.
You know, like because he's wearing the boots that he got from skinning this fucking monster.
It's the Monster Hunter thing more than anything. You know?
Yeah.
It's just like you want to see that character wearing a record of their exploits.
They got billions of guns. You guys want billions of shoulder pads.
Totally. Yeah.
No, I get you.
Definitely.
I mean, I'd be okay with a dozen shoulder pads.
Yeah.
But something that gives you more points of customization.
Yeah.
Than which two guns do I have equipped? What shield do I have equipped? What grenade do I have equipped? And then your skill tree.
I would say
that's
for me
not enough.
a loot action game of this type. For me at this point, like the pursuit of a cooler looking character is at least as important as better weapons for me at this point. Maybe more. Like the way that I look and kind of the image you project as you walk around with other players.
I think they were getting.
Yeah.
I think they were slowly getting there.
But none of it was like reward. None of it was like skill based. It was like, oh, you ran over to this refrigerator and now you have the blue skin,
Right.
and that sort of stuff.
You would get them as drops though. Like
Yeah, but they didn't confer any kind of like, hey, I did this because I'm fucking badass at this game. You know, it was like, I found this thing.
without saying.
Like at that point, why not just buy them?
Yeah.
You know, it just there's no.
or get a golden key.
There you go. Follow Randy Pitchford on Twitter. Look at these keys.
No, I just know.
Just edit the I and I.
He's got a USB stick full of shift keys. Oof. You just gotta find it.
You know he's so fucking excited that he's going to be able to do shift keys again. They found a way to put shift keys in the original Borderlands.
Right. Yeah.
He's so excited. He's so excited.
What a man.
Maybe we're assuming too much. Maybe there's more of that in there.
Yeah, you have to hope that they have been looking at games since Borderlands 2 came out and learned a thing or two. But like, I feel like the trailer and this leaked information doesn't necessarily.
Yeah. It seems very iterative.
Say that.
Yes.
It does. Like, the song kind of feels the same. You know what I mean? And
I'm
just
okay with the same
vibe.
personality.
Yeah.
It's more certain progression features that I guess games have done since then.
I am not okay with the same personality.
Well, I
Borderlands
don't
2.
love it. I don't love it, but I'm okay with it. Like I
Borderlands
can live
1
with it.
was a better balance of that stuff.
Yeah, sure.
So I think there's a way for this game to be well written and all there's stuff. But
According to this leak, there's no real Handsome Jack in this, so you're safe there.
yeah, okay, there's that.
It's definitely going to be like an ensemble cast. They've got a ton of, like returning characters. We'll see how
like,
that shakes out.
Break is in the trailer, and
His epic sax, stuff like that.
I gotta say, and this is separate from the game, but also it was the other thing I couldn't stop thinking about while just in the car turning this thing on and seeing Randy Pitchford doing magic the whole time. Like, I am really surprised that he was on stage for this at all, given like the last time he was in the news, it was allegations of like pedophilia and stuff that like there's a lot of stuff that like you'd think that you'd just be like, hey, why don't you just hang out in the back for this? We'll get someone to come out and announce the game instead of like it was just him just doing magic this whole time. It was just like, what? This is really crazy. Like just from a even just a PR, but like even if that stuff is just like, hey, some childhood friend of his is trying to stir up shit in the worst way possible, and none of it's actually true. Right? Like, who knows? They'll find out in court, I guess.
That stuff is
but like that stuff is
still fresh.
Still too fresh. So like the whole time watching that trailer, I was just thinking like, I can't believe that he was out there to announce this game.
you mentioned him That seemed kind of sweaty. Like I
little bit,
feel like I
maybe.
don't know if it was the lighting, but
Yeah,
it seemed
there was
like
just
a little pallid.
like watching it. It was just like, dude, don't do this.
A little frenzied.
Like, why?
Granted, he was trying to cover for technical problems, so he's probably a little bit on edge anyway. But
Like, there's a whole company, just, in Texas and in Canada or whatever. That, surely one of those people could stand out there and announce the game.
Maybe he instills that kind of fear in people that they don't want to stand up to.
I've got an email from Sean in Chicago that I'm going to read right now. That's pretty similar to what you're saying, but he's got a couple other thoughts about it. After all that's happened with Randy Pitchford and Gearbox this year, I'm finding it bizarre how front and center Randy is with the announcement of Borderlands 3. Outside of the announcement itself, I have also gotten promoted tweets in my Twitter timeline that are from his personal account, tweeting about the timeline. Note, I don't follow him. I'm sorry, I think he meant to say tweeting about the game. It seems incredibly stupid to spend promotional dollars, be it from Gearbox or Randy himself, to promote a tweet from the company's CEO who has had numerous scandals in the last 3 months, instead of just using the official company's Twitter account. My only question, I guess, is does the dude have no shame? How did anyone think this was a good idea?
But what is 2K thinking, right? I mean, they're publishing this game. Like, you'd think if you were 2K, somebody would be like, hey, we're not demanding any action. Like, you figure out your stuff, and, like, if it's not true, then whatever, that'll all be borne out, and fine. But hey, for this right now, we're 2K, we're this publicly traded company, we can't have you out there doing this. I just don't get it. I don't get how that was not brought, like, how that didn't get squashed at some point prior to this.
Maybe that's just the amount of unilateral control he has over the company.
Or maybe he has provided enough information to people that would ask those kind of questions internally to where they're like, okay, we understand that this is not going to stick and this is what, but it's still out there, right? I just...
Also, the pedophilia stuff wasn't even the only part of that court case. Like, there's also the accusations of him embezzling. Well, maybe embezzling is not the right word, but he supposedly
didn't tell his company about
misappropriation. Maybe embezzling is the right word. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer or a financial expert.
And also just like
the kind of weird financial dealings and withholding money from the company without anybody's knowledge, and just some other weird stuff there too.
Yeah, then it just, I mean, if you want to look at, like, the long-term Gearbox stuff, like, then you just get into all the alien stuff, like, the name of that studio has just been endlessly tarnished to a point where you're like, maybe let's just have the Gearbox name take a bit of a backseat at the announcement, and you guys figure your stuff out, and work on making the game great, and we'll make it right in the end, assuming that everything pans out. Or if something doesn't pan out, then, oh God, we're in business with this guy. Oh no. It's a very bizarre situation. Yes. Where you've got, and then at the core of it is this lawsuit where two childhood friends are suing and countersuing each other over this stuff. I don't even know what to make of it. I mean, how could I know what to make of it? Because of, like, other than the allegations sure sound fucking terrible in a way where you're like, hey, maybe don't put this guy out there.
Well, that is the whole point, is that because we don't know what to make of it, maybe just play it safe.
Maybe just focus on the game and not a panel full of magic. What are you doing?
Perhaps you have hired someone else recently who was also good on stage and can go up and hype your game.
Maybe. Perhaps. He's in a different department. That's fine. Hey.
Borderlands. Yeah, it's coming out.
And maybe coming out in September.
Did you say something?
There was some
about
deleted tweet that I think pointed to, like, a mid-September release date for this.
Okay.
Which seems soon until you realize, like, oh, right, they have been working on this thing forever and just hadn't announced it. Sure. I am very much open to a great Borderlands game.
Totally.
I don't really like that first game.
I'm not going to play it.
The second game was disappointing because
pre-sequel came out.
I did not finish pre-sequel. I did not play that much of it because it was just that oxygen thing was just not fun.
I did not like that mechanic.
And the writing of game made in Australia and made the moon into fake Australia.
Oh yeah, like New Zealand or something.
Okay. basically, people seem to like. I guess like then all that stuff kind of came to a head again when Tales from the Borderlands came out, and I was like, oh man, when you give this like these characters in this world to like really great writers, it isn't bad. It's actually really good. So that it made Borderlands 2 kind of worse in retrospect almost.
Yo, you see when the siren went like this and she had like 6 like blue arms? It was pretty awesome. I'm sure it will play well. Yeah. Good. I'm excited. Valve updated the Steam Store page at some point last week. What day was it? The 29th? Congrats to them. Yes. I think it was Friday. With just a giant image of a pair of hands clutching a previously unseen VR headset. With the tagline, "Upgrade your experience, May 2019." And I don't know where the name Valve Index.
I think that was also on that page.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the Valve Index stuff.
Maybe I missed that. I looked at it on my phone when it first went up on the bus. Maybe I just missed that. But rumors about Valve making their own headset have been going around for a while now. And in fact, there was a leaked photo of a production headset with a big fat exposed circuit board a few months ago. And it looks an awful lot like the image they put up on their thing. Oh, it does. So yeah, that's. Oh, you know what? Yeah, if you squint, it's held at an extreme angle, but you can make out the words Valve Index on the headset. Yeah. So yeah, Valve. It's always been such a weird partnership with them and HTC. Yeah. On the Vive, I guess. More to the point, it's easy to forget that HTC is actually the maker of the Vive. Right. And think of the Vive as Valve's headset.
It's when they announced, like, Vive is coming out with, or HTC is coming out with Viveport, a subscription service to play VR games. Or, they're not.
Yeah, right. It's their own separate thing, technically, just a partnership.
And then you heard about, all this talk over the years about all the VR headsets and all the hardware that Valve had made over the years and all the people they had brought in to make VR headsets. Right. Did that all go into the Vive, or what's happening? Yeah. In that last round of the layoffs not that long ago, there was some talk early on there that was like, this was like the VR hardware team. Maybe they don't care about VR. No, they still care about VR.
Yeah, apparently. Nothing else really from Valve. Obviously, it sounds like next month we'll find out the details. There is some stuff. How do we know that? Well, it said on the page. Page 15, so they're obviously. Real quick, I forgot to mention at the end of that Borderlands trailer, they say, I think the phrasing is "see more" April 3rd, which is tomorrow. Speaking of things that are going to go flesh out more in the future, they're apparently going to show more of Borderlands 3 tomorrow. Okay, all right. But they're also going to show more of Valve Index next month, according to that thing. So we'll find out details then.
I assume that means it's out then.
Maybe. Oh, you think so?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
Because also a store page went up and down.
With some more details.
I missed that. Like some very loose details.
Also, some stuff got streamed out by a developer. Also, like a part of the Steam control panel, like a beta version of Steam VR.
Oh yeah,
got streamed out that people were able to. This is so flimsy, it's almost not worth talking about. But they were able to see like the resolution scale slider potentially for this headset. Scale slider. Because you can have the VR heads, you can have the game render it higher than the VR resolution, the actual resolution of the screens. But there's like a physical slider. Well, this already existed for the Vive
software.
Okay. Yeah, this is in the Steam VR control panel. Sorry, and you can already do this on the Vive. So people are looking at that and trying to infer what the actual resolution of the screens in this thing are going to be. But they even say like, hey, this could be completely off base. Like, we can make some assumptions off of this. The general thought seems to be it's either going to be the same resolution as the Vive Pro, which is already quite good, or it may be higher.
I thought I saw a wider field of view.
So that is, I think that's more of a lens thing.
135 degree or something.
I think that's down to the type of lenses they're using. Okay. I think dual fresnels. That would kind of by default make it the best headset on the market, right? If they potentially, if they're able to give it a wider field of view than we've seen, and like apparently there are 2 screen makers that have higher resolution screens coming very soon, or maybe ready now, so it could be using some of those. And then it sounds like it's going to be at a minimum as good as the Vive Pro.
Yeah. And then it looks like it will require base stations, existing base stations.
Oh, really?
And also will work with the knuckle controllers. or those will finally be coming out
Does
as
it
like
not
the
have-
Valve Index controllers.
Does it not have Inside Out?
The store page kind of said like, hey, you need base stations and these and that sort of stuff. Yeah.
All right. Well, next story. Oh man, I don't.
Yeah, it's there's a part of me that would like, I'm not opposed to getting a better VR headset, as dumb as that sounds.
Yeah.
But I'm still not going to put base stations up in my house. I'm just not in a position where I can. Like even the Oculus sensors are kind of a pain in the ass.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're totally right. I misread this. I was looking at this Upload VR story. I misinterpreted their phrasing. Yeah, it says flat out here that the Index is expected to deliver the next generation of Valve's outside-in tracking.
Yeah.
So, man, that immediately completely dampens any enthusiasm I had for this.
Yeah, so I guess how much how much are you willing to trade off quality-wise in the experience just to get inside-out tracking? I think that's when the Rift S stuff came up, and I know people have kind of been shitting on that thing.
Yeah.
From a specs perspective. Just
But it don't need
what
no
it is, the
sensors.
price, but it doesn't need sensors. And there's part of me that's actually, that's pretty attractive right now in my current setup. Even though I already own a Rift, there's some part of me that's if I could get better resolution, but the screens maybe aren't as good. They're not AMOLED screens, but I get to get rid of those fucking sensors and kind of freely use my VR headset without having to
pretty much the exact
as much.
situation I'm in, because that Windows Mixed Reality headset, I think specs-wise, is probably worse than the Rift or the Vive.
Yeah.
Except maybe in a couple of minor ways, but the convenience, like I said, of just plugging a couple cables in and just going.
Right.
Totally.
Yeah.
The other thing, this is like a rumor of a rumor, basically, but there has been some talk over the last few months that there is some kind of Half-Life project in development. At Valve for this thing.
Is Half-Life VR the new Half-Life 3?
I forget where that came from. It bubbled back up when Valve posted this teaser image.
I feel like it was some number of years ago when we talked to someone who had played a Half-Life project who said they were only allowing it to be demoed in VR.
That's right.
On account of that's what the game was.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I just remembered that.
And then heard not that long after that that's not it. It's now this other thing. This other thing. How many I'm sure is also long dead.
Yeah, how many versions of a Half-Life 3 have existed inside Valve?
More. Let's actually. What's the over/under? How many more or less? How many games have been iterated or rebooted more times? Half-Life 3 or Dragon Age 4?
I'm gonna say Half-Life.
I guess you're right. I guess you're right. When you stretch out the timeline.
At some point, EA is like, all right, let's go, ship something.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, on the one hand, that is the most obvious bullshit rumor you could possibly think of. On the other hand, if you're Valve and you want to sell your headset, that's also the most obvious thing you could possibly make.
If you're Valve and you're really not feeling like you're pissing people off enough, and you really want to double down on some stuff, VR only Half-Life is the way.
What if it was VR only?
That's what I'm saying.
What if it was a lot cooler in VR?
Oh, I mean, yeah, but I'm not saying yes, they should make a really awesome Half-Life VR game.
Yeah,
totally. But after all these years, if they were like, hey, Gordon Freeman's next chapter, VR exclusive, that would be right up there with saying, hey, Gordon Freeman's next chapter, Linux only. That's not to say they won't do it, but I suspect that if they were to do a VR Half-Life project, it would not be the next chapter in Gordon Freeman's story. It would be a Half-Life universe. That's probably true. Sort of thing, or something like that. That's probably the case.
Anyway, we'll find out more next month.
But man, what if they did? Oof.
Really be something.
I would love to watch it, and I would love to watch that happen. I hate that, but I get it. I would love to watch them say, hey, here it is. It's Half-Life 3. You should buy a Valve Index.
I feel like a terrible person for feeling like
I would just love to watch. Just sit back and just go all right, let's watch this.
I feel like watching that drama play out would have to be more entertaining than any new Half-Life game could be.
I got to tell you, man, if you wanted to see people pivot away from shitting all over the Epic Store, a VR exclusive Half-Life game would probably be the thing.
Now I want it to happen. Honestly, I mean, if you think about, like, what was the impact of Half-Life 2? It was all that crazy physics shit, right?
Yeah.
So, like, if you really wanted to do, like, here is the next gen, here's the next generation of crazy physics abilities in a first-person shooter, having tactile touch controller shit is almost a necessity.
Yeah, and it seems like, physics have just, it's a long time has passed since then.
Yes.
So I think if you were doing Half-Life 3, like, the mere notion of physics puzzles is not enough.
Yeah.
I suspect they probably realized that at some point.
Totally.
Multiple times.
I've assumed forever that the reason they haven't made another Half-Life is because, both Half-Life games were, like, watershed moments in first-person shooters, and, like, if you feel like you have to deliver that with every game, like, and you can't think of something.
I mean, Half-Life 2 definitely a watershed moment. Let's talk about Sin, okay? Now, Sin's a great game. You got JC there kind of backing you up.
He hits that pigeon with the sniper rifle right there in the intro. Target system. Right there. I was, at the time, I was super stoked for Sin.
Sin's multiplayer is
kind of like, Half-Life looks alright.
Post those games coming out, I think I was still on the side of Sin, honestly.
Yeah. Half-Life was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just, what is a Half-Life 3 in terms of, like, redefining the genre again?
Yeah, right. I mean,
I have no idea.
What do you,
fucking no idea.
Again, that's one of those things that if you had the answer to that question, you wouldn't be here asking it.
Right,
You'd be off making it.
Totally. So I assume they don't have the answer either. Might as well just talk about Artifact now, since we're talking about Valve.
Okay.
They posted an article on the Artifact site, kind of a blog post called "Towards a Better Artifact." The gist of it is basically, the kind of the standout line from this post is, Artifact represents the largest discrepancy between our expectations for how one of our games would be received and the actual outcome. So, nobody has any illusions about how Artifact is doing based on the concurrent players numbers at the moment. Even them. But they're basically saying, like, we were going to follow our normal pattern of just pumping out content for this thing, kind of rapid updates based on feedback from players, but we're going to take longer and think about fully reworking this game.
I mean, they don't have players to give the feedback.
Yeah, that is part of the problem, I guess.
It seems like I guess it was like mostly the monetization, right? Like the main complaint. I feel like people that played Artifact were like, "Oh, this is a good card game," but I don't like it's maybe not good enough for me to abandon whatever else I'm playing. Combined with like the money aspect of it is,
I think it was
like not palatable to players.
I think it was mostly the business model. I mean, the kind of design-related complaints I heard were like the lack of progression was really shitty, and also it seemed like some people thought the matches were a little too long. But
I mean, for a Dota-based card game, the matches should be too long, right?
I mean, I'm trying to get away from Dota here. But yeah, like the business model is just insane to me. With what every other card game on the market is.
Yeah, because you got to buy in. And
you have to buy the game, and then you have to buy card packs. Like, there is no real unlocking card packs. It's not free to play. There's no mobile version.
There's weird tickets to arenas and stuff like that.
Like, it didn't feel like it was ticking any of the boxes that games in the genre are supposed to do. So, anyway, they say...
But they're saying kind of like our bad on like even just the game design as well.
I think, so
they're kind of not going back to the drawing board, but they're going to be experimenting.
Yeah, they're like very contrite in this thing. We don't think the players misunderstand our game or that they're playing it wrong.
Right. Do you think players are going to stick with them during this experimentation phase?
No one's sticking with them. Like they kind of say, hey, we're going to go off and work on this for a good long time and be quiet about it.
We expect this process of experimentation and development to take a significant amount of time.
So it might just be like they'll have a full relaunch at some point and try to make a new appeal to new players and say, here's our thing, as opposed to please come back to Artifact, because there just aren't enough people to come back.
I mean, I think there's plenty of precedent for this working and being fine if they pull it off, like Final Fantasy XIV is like probably the most famous example. Like, the Destiny games have gone through it. to a large extent. The Division, like, there's tons of examples of games making good.
Anthem is trying to go through it.
Yeah. People are willing to come back if you fix the problems.
I think the thing with Artifact is that maybe there weren't quite enough players showing up to begin with. You know, like word of mouth was pretty poisonous. Like once the monetization stuff, even prior to launch,
Sure.
I think people were just like, oh, well, that's not something I want to do. And yeah, so
I mean, I assume it has to be free to play when it comes back, right?
hey, we'll see. This will be VR only.
Yeah. I need a mobile version. I don't want to sit at a computer to play a card game. If I was going to play that thing, it would be in transit or something.
This will be the new Half-Life 3.
Yeah.
So Artifacts that have
3 lanes, 3 Half-Lives.
Yeah. Sega Genesis Mini. This is little. It's coming out September 19th.
Yeah.
This is the official first party, not the one that I can get at Walgreens right now.
So this one is
so weird.
So they announced one of these, and AtGames was going to do it. Right. And AtGames is the company that has done a lot of those shit boxes.
So
that have found their way into Walgreens and all those places.
So here is where this breaks down for me, or I didn't understand what was going on here, because didn't units of that get out? I sworn there were at least like preview units out there.
Yeah, maybe they were getting close.
Really?
I forget what it was.
Maybe I misunderstood.
But like other units in this ilk that have played, Genesis things have definitely come out.
But I mean the official one from Sega.
Right.
I could have sworn there were like view units out there with the AtGames stuff on it.
You might be right.
Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, like a year ago or something.
Yeah.
Last summer or something.
So they ended up canning that thing, or pulling back on it, and just going like, oh, well, clearly we have entrusted our brand to people that cannot get the job done, so we're going to look elsewhere. And so M2 is doing this, which they did all that cool. They've done a lot of cool like emulation work with Sega stuff.
Yeah, they did the Sega Ages releases.
Those are weird.
Yeah, but good, right? Like people seem pretty.
Well, yeah, they're weird because they're good quality emulation.
Yeah.
Good extras. I think.
Is that the one that starts kind of in like an 80s bedroom? Or do you have like a shelf of Genesis games?
That's a different thing.
Okay.
No, they did a lot of the stuff for consoles.
Okay.
And I want to say they did like the 3DS stuff where they're like adding 3D to some of those games. Like M2's done a lot of.
Okay. They seem to be a fairly trusted name as far as this stuff goes.
They're definitely like renowned for this stuff. And
so they're going to be doing all the work on the software now.
Yeah.
For this thing.
And cool tidbit, menu music by Yuzo Koshiro.
Yes. Ooh. Yes. Like somebody over there knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw that, I was like, okay.
Meanwhile, more Streets of Rage 4 footage got out.
Yeah, I saw
Music
that.
bad.
Yeah.
No.
Music's still bad.
No.
I'm not.
It's still probably good though.
Still not quite sold on that art style either.
Yeah, the gameplay's very juggled. Like when we played it back at Seattle PAX, it was like, oh, this is like promising, but it's like kind of.
I've heard a lot of people coming away from it saying that it's being treated like very close to.
Well, it's super juggle focused, or maybe not focused, but like you can juggle enemies back and forth between enemies. So it's a lot of like air combo stuff that the original games didn't have.
That could be super fun.
Yeah, which was still like when I think Ben and I played it, and it was fun. It didn't necessarily feel exactly like
Streets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other than like, oh, this is kind of the same animation, or hey, you put this move in here. From Streets of Rage. Like
I remember that move.
It's got that stuff for sure.
Okay.
But I think I came away from it going like maybe it just didn't have enough Streets of Rage feel. And talking to them then about the music, they were like, of course we know we don't have anything to announce, but we think it was like this. I got this kind of like wink and a nod kind of response that led me to think like, oh, well maybe they're still talking and maybe it'll still happen. Because clearly they know that like the music is a big part of those games. But here we are, kind of still a significant amount of time later, you listen to that music and you're like, that's not right. That's not Streets of Rage.
Well,
What kind of games are we looking at here?
there is no Streets of Rage announced for this thing so far. It's going to have 40 games on it. At first, this was at a Sega event in Japan on stage. At first, they announced games for the Japanese release, such as Sonic 2, Puyo Puyo 2, Shining Force, Castlevania Bloodlines. Oh, cool. Powerball, Gunstar Heroes, Comics Zone, Rent a Hero, and Space Harrier 2.
Okay.
But that's the Japanese list. They then subsequently announced some of the games for the US release, such as Altered Beast. Castlevania Bloodlines is on there, Comic Zone is on there, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, Echo the Dolphin, Gunstar Heroes, Shining Force, Sonic the Hedgehog 1, but not 2 so far, like the Japanese release, Space Harrier 2, Toe Jam and Earl. I don't think there's a European release list yet. Like I said, there are 40 games, so there's quite a few more. Okay, that will be announced.
Last but most important question.
I think I know where this is going.
What kind of controller are we talking about?
This is fucking crazy to me. The Japanese version gets the 6-button controller. The US version gets the 3-button controller.
No.
What?
Gross.
Why?
Why?
I mean, presumably they won't ship any games on the US one that requires the 6-button pad. But
that's severely limits.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm trying to think, is it there,
is that 3-button revered in any way to anybody? I don't think so.
Not especially.
Right.
That controller was fine.
It's not terrible.
But it's not a 6-button
yeah.
controller.
But also, how many games? Okay,
Like made use of it.
it was like some fighting games that I really care about, but they're not going to put the Genesis version of MK2 on there, or like Street Fighter Special Champion Edition. Like, you don't need those.
Well, they might put Eternal Champions on, but I guess that's...
God, I hope not. Yeah. But kind of once you get through those, that handful of games, I'm trying to think what are the iconic 6-button Genesis
maybe that's
games
fair.
that you really need.
You know what I really need is a good-ass D-pad.
Yeah.
That 3-button controller.
Well, I was going to say,
Theoretically, get these Japanese 6-button
Or
pads.
maybe
They would just work.
Or maybe other controllers in general might work. Yeah, I was going to say, it's not just the extra buttons, right? There are other improvements.
Yeah, the D-pad.
Yeah,
is
the
ridiculous.
D-pad's really good. Yeah.
On 6-button.
Yeah.
In Japan, there are going to be 2 models, one with 1 controller, one with 2. In the US, there's just going to be the one $80 model that'll have 2 controllers.
Okay.
So, one of the promo images they put out just says, "Made by Sega, Genesis Mini delivers quality as only a first-party product can." Like they feel that seems like they are very sensitive to the criticism of the at-game stuff.
Yeah,
And they're really trying to get across, hey, we're controlling this now. It's not going to be terrible. So,
in my opinion, that stuff has been poor.
I don't know. I feel like... Well, I was going to say, we can't do many more of these classic consoles, right? But on the other hand, we're running out of consoles, so
Yeah, we're running out.
there's not that many more to do unless NEC comes out of nowhere.
There you go.
With some PC Engine shit. But,
Kanye West presents.
there you go. Now, that's a tie-in I can get behind.
I don't know.
In this day and age, actually, you're right. I forgot about that stuff.
I miss the old Kanye.
Yeah. But also, I don't know. Whatever. It's not like... this is a legitimate product. You're paying the company that owns this stuff for the right to play it.
Yeah.
It's not like the Mister or some of that other stuff is... like the analog... What's the
Mega SG.
Mega SG just came out.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff is a little more gray area.
No, I mean, it's... the Mega SG is $200.
Yeah.
And you
you're
provide
using-
your own cartridges.
Yeah, you're using legitimate cartridges there,
Though
so that's fine.
the jailbreak firmware came out yesterday for that.
Okay.
So loading games off SD is possible.
Okay.
Though I might say if you're already crossing that bridge and you love to tinker with stuff, the Mister doesn't allow that.
That's really what I'm getting at. Is it's hard for me to get excited about any of this stuff in a world where the Mister exists.
Yeah. If they get to a point, and well, they probably won't be able to, just because of what the Sega CD is internally. But I need a thing that can play Sega CD games without spinning a disc.
Yeah.
Because the Sega CD itself is like a kind of a flimsy unit. It's not
no
the most
CDs.
reliable. Yeah. Well, I got a couple of those. But
The Mega SG works with all models of Sega CD, right?
yeah.
I think.
Yes. And then, so I guess with that jailbreak firmware that's out, now you can put So the Sega CD is region locked. You can burn discs, but it is region locked. But I guess so with the jailbreak firmware, you can load a BIOS from an alternate region to kind of get around that, which is kind of cool. That thing looks nice, but I don't know. I don't know that I want to spend $200 for a device that plays one platform.
I get some of the production reasons why they've gone this direction, but the fact that they...
Or I guess actually I should say, because that thing also will play Master System games, Game Gear games. They're going to put out some cartridge adapters.
You can plug a power base converter into it.
I think you can, but also they're just going to sell straight up like Master System and controller adapter, and then SG-1000, 3000 adapters or whatever. That's cool. And then the jailbreak firmware also plays ColecoVision games, because that stuff's pretty similar hardware-wise.
I get there are some production issues around just like multiple cartridge slots and multiple controller ports and stuff. Like obviously the Retron 5 is kind of a like clunky looking thing.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of bummed that Analog has gone in this direction of just putting out boxes for every different console.
It's the thing that makes money, right? I mean, they're running a business.
Totally.
So, they're doubling down. Hey, we're making a thing that evokes the design of that original console.